guys, it's Kai here with Kai's Canine Boot Camp, and today's video we're going to go over Siberian Huskies as service dogs. Someone requested that I go over it. What do I think about them? How well do they typically work as service animals? So I'm just going to go over it. If anyone else has any other breeds that they want me to do, just leave a comment below and I guess I can do those. Like, no big deal. I kind of like going over different breeds. Keep in mind that this is all based on my professional opinion, based on the facts of this breed. With every breed, you have a standard, what they're typically like, but within that breed, you're always going to get dogs that don't quite fit how they typically are, especially temperament, personality based. It really varies on the dog. Most of the time, they're going to fit that standard, but sometimes you just get a dog that acts nothing like what they should act like based on what their breed says. If you have other questions that aren't really related to this topic, you can go over to my posts on YouTube or go on Instagram or my Facebook and leave a comment on the recent post. I just did posts saying, like, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them, and I'm just going to do a whole video on everyone's questions because I've gotten a lot lately. So we're going to start off with the history of Siberian Huskies. For those of you that don't know, Siberian Huskies were originally bred to be sled dogs that could handle the cold, harsh weather and that could run long distances. They were also bred to be independent thinkers, ignoring their handler's command if the path the handler is trying to make them go down is not safe. The dog makes that decision. They don't think that's a safe path, they're going to go the other way. That's how they were bred to think, to be, to look, to feel. They were bred to be independent, strong, durable, endurance-filled dogs. Huskies are smart, independent thinkers. Often people call them stubborn. It's not really that they're stubborn in the way that a lot of people say their bully breed is. It's more stubborn in the way that they think and know that they're smarter than you, so they're just not going to do it. They're going to find a way out of it. So, some people don't like when you call certain breeds stubborn because they're not actually being stubborn, but they're not eager to please, is basically what people are saying. Eager to please is a dog that would love to work for you and will do just about anything for you. Labs are very well known to be eager to please. They're just easy dogs to train and to work because they want to do anything for you. Huskies want you to work for them to do something for you. Huskies are extremely high energy dogs, extremely high energy dogs, with both endurance and speed. Huskies are fast and they can run for a very long time, typically. Their mix of intelligence and energy makes them the perfect escape artist, which is why they're known as escape artists, because they're extremely smart and they got a lot of energy that they just want to run around and explore and do whatever they want, so they will find a way out if they can and just take off. It also makes the perfect recipe for destruction. Common thing that people know about Siberian Huskies is the fact that they like to tear stuff up. They also love to dig. Super annoying if you want a pretty yard, but kind of goes with having a husky. They like to dig. The destruction aspect typically comes from a bored husky. You got a high energy dog with a lot of intelligence. They need a lot of exercise and a lot of mental stimulation to be a happy dog. They were bred to have a job. They should have the feeling, even if you have a pet Siberian Husky, they should have the feeling that they do have a job even if they don't actually have one. They need all of these things to be a happy dog and not tear up your house. But if you have a Siberian Husky that you don't do much with, you should expect thousands of dollars in damage. Huskies are also known for their expressiveness, aka their drama. They're known to be a dramatic breed, and it's true. They vocalize about absolutely everything. Absolutely everything is a big deal to them. It's quite hilarious yet ridiculous. You just don't know how to feel about it when you're working with Siberian Husky because they're sitting there screaming like a toddler, but at the same time you're like, why are you doing this? They're just a vocal breed, and that's something you should be prepared to work with. You don't want your Husky as a service dog going out in public and just screaming over nothing, so it is something that you have to work on from a young age because the majority of them are just born to be vocal. teaching them a speak and a quiet command is good. So yeah, Huskies are dramatic, and if you don't want to deal with that, you don't want a Husky as a pet or as a working dog. And if you're someone that really can't handle vocalness because of sensory issues or whatever, a Husky's not going to be a dog for you. Huskies also have a very high prey drive. I mean, very high typically. They will go after cats. Some of them will go after small dogs, but not typically. They're typically very social with other dogs. But cats, guinea pigs, rabbits, any of that is not safe around most Huskies. That's something you will need to work on from a young age, get them exposed to those smaller animals from a young age, and work on boundaries with smaller animals from a young age. They're also very well known for being pretty mouthy dogs. Mouthy means a nippy dog. They're not actually being mean and trying to bite you or hurt you. They're just very mouthy in play. Huskies are known for this. Part of the thing that they're known for is playing rough. But they also typically will do it with humans as well. So something you need to work on from a young age, again, is teaching them it's not appropriate to mouth people because you can hurt them on accident. So redirecting them to toys instead and teaching them gentle play with people is an important factor of owning a Siberian Husky at all. Now, how does most of this affect it being a service dog? One, when you have a disability, you need to take into consideration the breed. Can you physically or mentally handle such a high energy, high drive, high maintenance breed? Are you capable of the extensive exercise these dogs need typically? Are you capable of the amount of mental stimulation they need? Are you capable of providing both of those things for them to make them a happy dog? Can you handle a loud breed? Again, overstimulation is very common in a lot of people, especially people with autism spectrum disorder. They especially tend to have issues with becoming overstimulated, and a lot of other mental illnesses especially tend to cause issues with overstimulation. So a loud barking dog that has typically a high-pitched whine bark type thing could be an issue for those of you that have a stimulation issue. So that's something to take into consideration as well. Also, can you keep up with the grooming needs? Huskies shed a lot, and it's all year round. It does not stop. They need brush multiple times a day. They need to go to the groomer. Make sure you get all of the coat taken out, especially during blowout season, because you would think it couldn't get worse, and then blowout season comes, and then all of a sudden they're shedding a whole nother dog every single day. And these are all things you should take into consider when even considering them as a pet. Can you exercise a Husky to the extent that they need? Can you mentally stimulate the dog to the extent that they need? Can you even handle the training of a Husky? If you have no experience with training, I would never recommend a Husky to you. They're a very difficult breed to handle when you have zero experience. You're going to want an easier breed to start with, like the Lab or even the Papillon. If you're wanting a smaller dog, that's a good breed to start with too. They're also super easy dogs typically. So thinking about even those training needs, they do need training. If you want a Husky that even remotely have manners, you have to put in that time and that work with them, and they're not going to make it easy. So can you even handle the training aspect of a Husky, especially when it comes to a service dog, because it's going to be 10 times harder for you. You can't just do manners and basic obedience. They need to have perfect obedience. They need to have perfect manners to be able to go out in public at all. And then you have to consider task training. And if a Husky doesn't want to do something, say you want the dog to do retrievals, but the Husky's like, not really interested, they're not going to do it. So you really don't have much wiggle room with them when it comes to getting them to do something they don't want to do. So can you handle that is another aspect to look at, even as a pet dog. And then cost. You have to look into cost. Obviously, grooming costs can be a lot if you don't know what you're doing and you need to take them to a professional. Typically, you're going to have to take them every 4 to 6 weeks. High maintenance in that way. But besides just the grooming needs, can you handle buying a well-bred, purebred Husky if you decide to go that route? There are 2 routes that you should take. Either going through a shelter, there are a lot of purebred Huskies there because a lot of people get them, have no clue what they're getting themselves into. Then they drop them off. So there are a lot of purebred Huskies in the shelter, and if it's something you want to look at, it is something you can do. Be prepared with shelter dogs. You do have a higher risk of a wash rate because most of the time those dogs are poorly bred. They also they're usually already adults, so they already have bad manners set into them. A lot of them have behavioral issues. those kind of things. So I'd be prepared for a wash if you decide to go that route, even more so than getting a Husky in general. You should never go to a puppy mill or a backyard breeder. The dog should be health tested, they should be titled, they should be well taken care of. All those things come with a responsible breeder, but so does the cost. Having that health guarantee and temperament guarantee, pretty much, because the parents have to have good temperaments before a responsible breeder would breed them, it comes with cost. So could you afford a $2,000 dog? And that's just initial cost. That's not even counting vet bills and food and all of that come along with having a dog. So can you handle the cost of getting a well-bred Husky if you're wanting the most success rate? Just having a Husky in general as a service dog, you have a higher wash rate. They don't typically work out in service work. Therefore, I don't recommend them. If someone were to ask me to recommend them any breed on this planet, the Husky would be one of the last ones I would say. And it's nothing for their fault. It's not their fault. It's just the way that they were bred. It makes them very unlikely to succeed in service work. However, that doesn't mean they never do. There's a lot of very good, fully trained service dogs that are Siberian Huskies, and they've worked out wonderfully for their owners. But those are unicorns of the breed. You're trying to look for something that you're very unlikely to find. But if someone came to me and said, I'm looking into Siberian Husky, how should I go about getting one that's a good prospect for service work? I would recommend going to a responsible breeder that breeds show line. Show line in almost every breed tends to be calmer because they're looking for show quality, not working quality. They tend to be calmer and have a little bit better of a service dog temperament in any breed. So that would be my recommendations if you're going to go with a Siberian Husky. But overall, I do not recommend them for service work. Just because I don't recommend the breed doesn't mean that they will never work. They can work. I'm pretty sure I have seen every single breed, at least one of them, work out in service work. Don't take this as me saying, go out and get whatever breed you want and expect it to work just because there's unicorns in the breed. There's a reason they're called unicorns. You're very unlikely to find it. But if you have a breed in mind, even the Siberian Husky, that you really think you can work with and it will work out for you, and that breed is the breed for you, go ahead and get it. But my advice would be, remember that there is a higher chance of that breed washing. And don't feel disappointed if they do. You got a breed that was very unlikely to work. And even if that dog seems like a great candidate, if they don't work, that's fine. You tried, and that's amazing. And however far they did make it, that is amazing. But always remember the possibility of that dog washing. And that goes for every breed, even in the labs. They are probably, I would say, the best service dog, probably the most successful service dog is the lab. But there's still a possibility of them washing. Plenty of labs have washed. So it's always a possibility. But just remember that when you go for a breed that is typically going to be very unlikely to work out for service work, you're just increasing those chances. Now that I've said all of that, let's read some of the experiences from current service dog handlers that do have Siberian Huskies. So now first let me give you my personal experience with Huskies because I didn't really touch on that too much. My personal experience is with pet Huskies, shelter Huskies, and Huskies with behavioral issues. I separated pet and behavioral issues just so that you know. Pet is just not trained, or I'm training them, and behavioral issues could be a pet or a shelter dog, but it's got behavioral issues. There's actual issues there that aren't because of the breed. So speaking on the experience with pets and the shelter dogs that didn't have any behavioral issues, they just weren't trained or were in the process of being trained. Is it a breed I would ever get? Absolutely not. I've already said this. They wouldn't fit in with my lifestyle. I'm not that high energy of a person, so it's not a breed I would own. I'm not a good home for them. They need extensive exercise, and that's not something I can provide physically. and it's not something that I would do. I'm just not a high energy person to be going out all the time and exercising a husky. I wouldn't be a good fit for them, so I wouldn't get them even if I wanted one, because I'm not a good home for them. I ethically cannot get a dog that I cannot provide the proper lifestyle for. So even if I wanted one, I couldn't get one, morally or ethically, whatever you want to call it. I couldn't do it to a dog. Besides the fact that I wouldn't own one, the main things that I notice consistently with almost every single husky I've worked with is that they are rude, they are pushy, they are intelligent, and they are very social. They also have a very high prey drive. Most of the ones that I know aren't the best, I would say, for other dogs, not because they're aggressive, but they typically play pretty rough, which is something you need to step in and kind of try to teach your husky to be gentle, which you can do. Just because your dog typically wants to play rough doesn't mean they get to do it with every dog, because not every dog is going to put up with that. Not every dog likes that kind of play. So that's when a dog fight would happen. I would never take most huskies to a dog park or doggy daycare. They're just way too rough for most dogs, and it would cause a dog fight. Eventually a dog's going to get annoyed with your dog and go after it. So while they're very social and very friendly with other dogs don't always take a liking to them because of how high energy and how rough they are. I would also say I tend to notice there's no evidence that huskies are actually prone, I guess you could say, to resource guarding, but I tend to notice it a lot in them, even if you do all the right things to try to prevent resource guarding, which you should do with every single puppy on this planet. But even if you do all those things, it's like for some reason they still get it. You can still correct it, but it's like a lot of the ones that I worked with did have resource guarding issues at some point in the training, and I'm like, where did this come from? So that's something to also look out for. I would love to see a study done on that to know if this is actually a thing, but who knows. I will also say they are very good working dogs. Huskies do really well when they have a job that has a lot of physical need to it, because they have that need. They have the endurance, the speed, the muscle, the durability. They're great, stable dogs in that sense. But as a pet dog or even a service dog, most service dogs aren't getting that much work in. You're not out and about every day most of the time. And even if you are, you're not typically going to be out all day constantly working. So it's kind of like it's not really a job that requires too much physicality, unless it's a mobility dog. But other than that, like a diabetic alert dog, psychiatric service dog, anything like that, it doesn't require too much physicality to it. More so just the temperament is really the only important part there for those kind of jobs, is the temperament and the willingness to work and wanting to work. But yeah, that's kind of my experience with huskies. Not a breed I would get, but some people love them and they do really well with them. So yeah, that's everything for this video. Again, if you guys want me to do other breeds, just leave a comment down below and I'll do them. There's no such thing as a breed expert, but I have worked with a lot of breeds and I've studied a lot of them just because why not? It's fun. So I do know a lot about a lot of breeds. That came off as braggy. I'm not trying to brag about that. Just if you want my professional opinion on certain breeds and if they would make good service dogs and the pros and cons, go ahead and leave it down below and I'll do a video on it. Also, if you guys have any questions for me that are not related to this topic, either go to my Instagram at Kylie's Service Canines, my Facebook at Kylie's Canine Boot Camp, or my Facebook community post. I don't know how to get there, but like, if you know how to get there, leave a comment on any of those and I'll make sure to include it in the, I guess, Q&A video. Thank you all so much for all the support I have gotten. It is absolutely amazing and you guys are awesome. So yeah, we'll see you next time I get on here.